I love criticism. It's what I do on this channel. I think we should all be able to call each other out on our bullshit. So when someone criticizes me, I tend to pay attention to them. Usually they're just small comments left on my videos like, you got this wrong, or I think this is what they did in the story because, and other little things like that. I generally do reply to these guys. Now, if I don't respond, the subscribers on my channel tend to fill in these people's mistakes if there are any, or explain parts of the story in case they miss some of them. Sometimes my methods are questioned, and the conclusions I come to are also questioned. Occasionally, I'll get the overzealous commenter who almost completely disagrees with everything I can ever say, or sometimes even just observe, to the point of simply disagreeing with me because this always resorts to swearing at myself and those who try to help them out. The user caralon3105 is one such person. He has been commenting on a few of my videos in the past few days, which is totally cool, and saying some rather subjective, childish things. That's cool too. But yesterday he decided to send me a big email, which I think is great. I love it. Let's see what he has to say. I've been giving it thought, and I've come to a conclusion. This message will be the last thing of me having anything to do with you. I'm not mad at you for disliking Mass Effect. I'm mad at you for having no emotion, no sense of humanity. The reason I sound droll or monotone is because I'm objective. I also have a deep, sexy voice. I also use critical thinking. On my channel, I state Smudboy uses objective observation and analytical editor-style methods of going through a plot or general analysis of video games. Now, if someone's mad at someone, that means that the person they're angry with isn't thinking the same way as them, and no matter what they try, they can't influence that other person, and so they act or react emotionally. Apparently, having no sense of emotion means I also have no humanity. I'm not sure what that means, so I'll just let that go. By definition, to be objective is of a person or of their judgment, not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. For a clearer definition of critical thinking, I recommend criticalreading.com. There, the qualities of rationality, self-awareness, honesty, open-mindedness, and various other facets of a personality have certain attributes to them when thinking critically. For example, in being rational, we're thinking critically when we rely on reason rather than emotion, require evidence, and follow evidence wherever it leads us. And we are more concerned with finding the best explanation. If you don't like thinking critically, you won't like my channel, and you most certainly won't do very well in post-secondary education, or any truthful, objective, intellectual discussion for that matter. I've seen several of your videos trying to sense some bit of emotion from you, and I've seen none. All you've done is make YouTube videos pointing out literary problems in video games. Well, I have to commend him for this excellent observation. That's exactly what this channel is all about. Literary problems that virtually no one cares about. My view counts, the time those people spend watching my videos, and the number of subscribers are a sign that you could be, maybe wrong. Let's also not forget those commenting on my videos, like you, which you apparently don't care about, yet left plenty of comments, as well as this large email. Well, you seem to be rather concerned here with my observations and comments, Mr. caralon3105. Are you sure you virtually don't care about these literary problems? The most viewed video you've had was around 200,000, and even then, at least half of the people watching it have disliked it and pointed out mistakes you made. While it's true around half disliked Mass Effect 3, the top 20 questionable things part 1, they most certainly did not point out the mistakes in it. If they dislike something, but have nothing to say, then they just click dislike and then they close the tab. By my own observations, those who leave a contrary opinion are either being emotional, subjective, got their facts wrong, or calling me a name, or may have one or two simple observations to make that are either irrelevant or I've already made with myself. Very rarely does a very critical eye catch a mistake I make, and I tend to reply to just about every comment if I have the time to, and if I find there's some value to it, or if I already know a quick answer to the question. Luckily though, my subscribers are faster than me, and they are quite effective in answering these questions that other people have. Even if it wasn't a mistake, it was stating how you have no sense of emotion, criticizing the smallest detail that has nothing to do with the narrative. You have no understanding of what made it good, or why millions of people came to love it so. You only care for finding literary clarity. Again, those people didn't point mistakes out, and they didn't also state my sense of emotion. In the top 20 questionable things video, I merely list 20 things that I find questionable. And yes, they do in fact have to do with the narrative, or else they wouldn't be in the game for me to observe and then to question. Although technically I could question things that aren't in the narrative, especially if the narrative implies things that don't exist. Now, to say I have no understanding of what makes Mass Effect good is kind of like saying I have no understanding of what makes Mass Effect bad. Maybe this hasn't dawned on you yet, but I'm a rather hardcore Mass Effect fan. No, I don't buy all that Mass Effect crap BioWare's pumping out over the years. This is just my opinion, but probably I'm a bigger fan than you. And I do this all out of passion, which, in case you're not understanding what that word is, it's an actual emotion. So I'm fueled by intellectual pursuits, my ego, and passion. I'm not as objective as I'd like to be in some cases, but I go where the evidence takes me, and I think that's rather honest. As for me finding literary clarity, that's not the only thing I care for. It's important, and it's a very big problem when there isn't clarity in a story, like when a narrative raises a question or it has a plot hole that doesn't resolve itself. That's a flaw. That's a bad thing. And there's nothing wrong with people making simple observations of things that are bad. Remember, humans are really good at pointing out painful bad things, but they're not very good at pointing out pleasant good things. When they start doing that, things get subjective. So when a story has more good literary things than bad, generally that's a good story. I've even tried commenting about things having nothing to do with what the video is about. Yeah, I don't know why you even do that. It's kind of nonsensical and you're wasting my time. You say you have no concept of Justin Bieber. That is true. You say that you have a shred of dignity for EA. Sure, okay. Have you no passion? You mean like having passion to put my voice into videos and reply to insolent children? No, no passion here. Have you no understanding of how far Justin Bieber has fallen since he started? Nope. How he became an asshole punk who's disrespectful to people and only cares about the money he's farming from mindless high school girls? Nope. And EA, freaking EA. The company that killed the Ultima series, the company that was voted the worst country in America twice, and you commented that you don't hate them. I'm very disappointing in you. Well, I'm very disappointed in your use of the period key and your grammar when writing to me, but hey, I'm Smudboy. You never once tried to understand why people loved Mass Effect, why it became so critically accepted by both critics and gamers. Now, this is curious. I know why I loved Mass Effect. I can guess it's similar for other people as well. However, my opinion of Mass Effect is irrelevant, as is yours, as is anyone else's. I only make objective observations from the narrative with little bias as much as possible and not getting caught up in a scene. I don't blush and boast how good it is or how bad it is. I take a step back, observe and relax. And then, using critical thinking to figure out what's going on, if I don't understand it, I refer to past scenes, the codex, I ask other people, etc. That's why those who critically look at the narrative know it's full of retcons, contradictions, forgotten plots and characters, and generally is just being a giant info-dumped mess. Even internet icons have regarded it a masterpiece of a franchise. Angry Joe, Tobuscus, Smosh, Jeremy Johns, that Error37 guy, Noah Antweiler, the freaking Spoonie, the guy who went through incredible lengths to point out everything that was wrong with Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy 13, Ultima 9, an EA game. He took the time to play Mass Effect and he said he loved it. Now, if a guy like that is saying that your game is good, that is a blessing in itself. It means that you did something right, and I just didn't see anything like that in you at all. I don't know who all these people are, but those who have actually done detailed analysis, meaning they've taken almost as much time as I have, looking at every line, scene, character, they've come to the same conclusion. The Mass Effect series really dropped the ball at the second game. And there was no recovery. The writing was crap. There's no denying that. The strength, the consistency of which stories are built, which are like the floors of a building, were dilapidated. The foundation was destroyed. The lore was just wrecked. And Mass Effect 3 just sealed that deal. Check out Seamus Young, who was a game critic and a writer, and his Mass Effect 2 plot analysis and subsequent analysis of the entire series. And just because a critic who may or may not have analyzed other games anoints one as being good doesn't make it good. By that definition, what is good? I primarily look at the story, so if they talk about gameplay, I don't really care about their opinion too much. If they come close to the analytical standard that I have adhered to, at least to the quality of storytelling, since that's all I'm really concerned with in analyzing things in games, then I'd be willing to listen to them. It's a basic technique used in creative writing circles as well as editors. If those critics could directly address a fifth of the problems and questions I've raised over the years about one BioWare game or whatever game I've looked at, then I might consider listening to these people. But I'm going to tell you, there's a very good chance they aren't going to say or show me anything I don't already know. And if it's just their opinion on how they like or dislike something, well, I don't care. I want objective observations. Well, I'm not going to let it bother me anymore, because it doesn't matter what you say about Mass Effect or anything else you talk about in the future, because I truly believe, along with everyone else, that Mass Effect is a series unlike any other. It was something that conveyed, added something to humanity, was being creative or artistic, trying to make this a better world, inspiring people to make better decisions, making them feel happy or comfortable or emotional. It will always be that way, and for a good reason. Okay, I have really no clue what you just tried to say there, because, well, clarity and your grammar sucks. But hey, let's see what you said, okay? It was something that conveyed. Okay, like how media conveys information, like a message. Okay, what did ME or Mass Effect convey that was unique? It added something to humanity. Well, maybe a larger garbage pile. It was being creative or artistic. You mean like how a monkey is creative with Crayolas? It was something that was trying to make this a better world? Yeah, I'm lost. Maybe, I don't know, economics? It was something that was inspiring people to make better decisions. Okay, well, I'm sure that the Mass Effect series taught ethics here and there in some scenes. Most stories do anyway. I don't really think there's a direct connection from a Paragon Shepherd choice and average Joe gamer's ethical quandaries in life, especially if he's not wielding a handgun or something. And if there is, then average Joe gamer is a very empty, sad, passive person with no friends and in social situations and potentially has way too many access to guns. And God help him if he's firing a gun at his brother and he likes to play Renegade Shepherd. It was something that makes them feel happy or comfortable or emotional. Wow, okay, that's a lot. I had no idea an alien invading force bent on galactic destruction was the feel-good game series of the last 6 years. With an ending that made people cringe in how unbearably, incomprehensibly bad it was and how lore-breaking it all was, I don't think happiness and comfort and being emotional was, well, positive emotion was what the game was all about. Maybe your copy of the game came with like these 3D rose-tinted glasses which periodically shoots methadone through your temple. Maybe. A good series doesn't come from literary clarity or finding a point in which that doesn't make sense to you. It comes from emotionally driven and emotionally engaging characters who share their personal story and how they see things in their own unique way. And this is where we are at a disagreement. A good series of stories, prose, poetry, a screenplay, or anything written in any degree of context or quantity is good at first because it is clear. That is the context. Then you can evaluate the content for being whatever. If there's no clarity, if you can't even understand what's on the page, there can't be any chance of it being good. So unless the style is meant to be unclear and the storytelling is consistent in that, then such a writer would know how to break those rules of grammar and context for this unique experience. Unfortunately, Drew and Mac are not James Joyce, and Mass Effect is not a stream of consciousness. And when I find something that doesn't make sense to me, it's not that I haven't tried to make sense of it, it's really a problem in the story. It doesn't make sense to me or anyone else. This is why we make objective observations. We can all identify the problems and point to them. There's plot holes, there's retcons, whatever. There's flaws. People who think it makes sense to them are either lying, blind, deaf, forgetful, they don't care about them, or they've invented their own answer, which is commonly referred to as headcanoning. To put it lightly, there is a lot of headcanoning in the Mass Effect series and its fanbase. Now, I'm all for writing in fanfiction, but not when defending what's actually written. Now, as for trying to say a good series comes from emotionally driven and emotionally engaging characters who share their personal story and how they see things in their own unique way, well, if that's all there is to it, then every soap opera ever will stand the test of time as being a good series of stories. Just get a group of pretty-looking actors, shoot them up full of random neurotransmitters, and make sure they never shut up. Just roll the film and boom, you've got a masterpiece. And I guarantee you that every argument I've made will be proven to be true when, years later, Mass Effect will still be looked back at as a great series, possibly one of the best ever made, while your pandering bullshit and everyone who supports it disappears from our consciousness. I'm not sure who I'm pandering to. That's interesting. I've never been told that before. Well, caralon3105, instead of writing this large email to me where you guarantee the future of an argument you've made, which I don't even know what arguments those are, you could have just said, "Dear Smudboy, I'm right, you're wrong, goodbye." It would have been nicer and more coherent. Clearer. Now I just think you're a gypsy or something. Now, the Mass Effect series will be remembered possibly as the thing that destroyed BioWare. We don't know yet. But it will always be remembered by gamers as having the worst story in the history of the space opera genre, possibly any genre, by people who have half a brain, working eyes and ears. It will always be talked about years later as the biggest pile of nonsense, the biggest waste of money, time, talent, and potential you have ever heard of in entertainment, at least from our years as we known it. Whenever anyone mentions, writes, talks about, or thinks of ME3 in any context, the following thought is this: not just any ending, an ending which destroyed the series, the lore, the characters, the plot, and literally its own universe. They had to patch the ending, and they still couldn't do it. Everything in Mass Effect is meaningless. Viva la nihilism. After Mass Effect 2, destruction comes. Books, comics, games, minigames, Twitter feeds, memorabilia, CEOs quitting their jobs, you name it. Everyone has been made worse. Never before has this level of pandering, nonsense, rubbish, conspiracy theory, circle jerk nonsense, greed, and crap products been seen in a franchise. Pandering to the lowest common denominator, turning previous fans into angry customers, and degrading humanity as a whole. Insulting our intelligence at every turn. Turning previously robust characters into one-dimensional dolls, giving the adult 3D animator community new content for making porn. The same way good media can uplift humanity, so does bad media destroy it. Hopefully, we'll never see such an atrocity again. Hopefully. So, don't bother replying to this message. As I said, this message will be the last thing of me interacting with you. If you send me a message, I'll just delete it. Okay? If you ever start to develop a sense of emotion, I hope you put it to good use. If you don't, may God have mercy on your soul. Well, I am being emotionally motivated to reply to you in a video, and I didn't do it through message as you requested, which, as I said before, is one of my reasons why I make videos, my sense of passion. Oh, and you're religious. Okay, a mercy on your soul too. Goodbye, Smudboy. Goodbye, caralon3105. I do hope you get into and stay in a university of your choosing. Unfortunately, you didn't really teach me anything, so let this be a lesson to anyone out there replying to me. Please think before you respond. Thank you and stay healthy.